Kalyn Ponga ruled out for up to 3 months with an injury he sustained yesterday in that game. Kenty, big news for Newcastle. No Kalyn for a long period of time now.
Yeah, it's devastating news for Newcastle. The thing is, they're so dependent upon him to win games. I think it gets down to 38% without him in the side, Braith. And I actually think Newcastle are probably going to have to go away and actually really sort of change the way they play, because they've been so dominant. Kalyn's been so dominant in their game plan and how they play. They've almost got to go and refine a style. Like a golfer when he loses his swing, they've just got to go back to square one and start again. He's in many respects, like we're looking at what's happened at Parramatta with Mitch Moses out of the side. The effects on Newcastle could be even more damaging for them.
But Kenny, they don't know where they're going anyway. And you look at the halves they've used Gamble, they've used Hastings, they've had 3 halves combinations.
We'll get to that, Buzz. But what's actually wrong with his leg? What are the details?
Oh, it's a ligament, at the bottom of his foot. It's called Lisfranc ligament. It's very rare in rugby league, but the Knights and their medical staff have done their homework and looked at AFL and all sports to see what the recovery period is with immediate surgery. It's 12 weeks. Hope he'll be back round 19. Won't be any earlier.
You can stick it in a boot, though, and take 8 weeks, which has still got a little bit of risk attached to it.
Yeah, medical is very statistical.
Yeah.
And all the sports doctors say it's a 12-week injury with surgery. And it's very unusual injury. And massive blow for him.
So he's definitely getting the surgery?
He sees his surgeon tomorrow and they're 99% sure.
You'd get the surgery because it's only 4 weeks extra. If it was twice as long, if it was 16 weeks, but if it's, 8 to 12, I would go get it done properly. You would think. Then,
Get it properly fixed.
But they're under the pump because to get a hip, to get a hip pointer and even play last weekend, I thought that was, showing a little bit of desperation from the Knights there.
Did it happen in the game, though? Because he looked like he was limping almost from the start of the game, which everybody assumed was the hip pointer.
No, it happened in the game. I spoke to someone at Newcastle. He took the hip pointer into the game and then he had the Lisfranc injury throughout the game. Everyone thought, even their own teammates and club thought it was his hip at half-time until he pointed at his foot, and then they looked at his foot and realised that he had a problem. So should he have played, though? I mean, he went into that game with the hip injury. We interviewed him pre-game on the Sunday ticket, didn't look comfortable or confident in the warm-up or to us on air, and then he comes up with this foot injury to go with it.
The week before, Braith, they needled him at half-time and it didn't affect his game. He had a really strong second half and I presume they were hoping...
I wouldn't say it didn't affect his game.
Hip pointers are painful
he played strong the second half.
He played strong, but he probably could have won in the game last week if he was... fit.
The problem is these teams, they're 2 wins from 6 games, they're playing Canterbury, he's their X-factor player. There's so much pressure on them to get 2 competition points. It's very hard.
Hold on, mate, but it doesn't say a lot for the rest of the team. If you've got to wheel out someone that's not 100%...
No, Gordy.
I get it. And then, you know what, if he doesn't play because he's the highest paid, we probably criticise Kalyn because it's only a hip pointer, can he push through it? But the other players need to step up. When they went on that run last year, everybody talks about Kalyn. Bradman Best was at his, he was flying Gamble. Like their halfback was going great. Their forward pack was dominating. No one else has played good. Dom Young.
Let me just give you the counter argument though.
Yep.
If Kalyn Ponga doesn't improve Newcastle, right, then what's the point of having him on the contract he's on? So therefore, he does improve Newcastle. So therefore, you've got to expect some drop off when he's not in the team. It's like when Andrew Johns used to play there, and everybody used to look at their record without Andrew Johns and criticise Mick Hagan as the coach then, saying, "Well, this is what look how poor his record is without Andrew Johns." You think, well, hang on, you got the best player in the world, and let's say Kalyn's in the photo as well in this instance. Yes. He has to improve the team. So there has to be naturally a drop-off when he's not in the team.
I think he's the most influential player at one club in the competition. As I've written this morning, you can take Cleary out of Penrith, they find ways to win. You can take Walsh out.
They've got a better win percentage.
But
they've got a different style.
He means so much to that club, and that's
play.
why he's on ridiculously big money.
So that's a concern for me. I don't think any team can win a competition off the back of just one player, especially these days. The teams are too good, oppositions are too good. So they depend on him that much, Buzz.
But you can't win without that one player either.
No, you need them in the side, but you can't win a premiership, with one player that you depend on. I mean, you look at Jared Hayne when he carried Parramatta, he got probably as close. How dominant he was, they just still couldn't win the competition.
Well, on the back of Kalyn last year, they went 10 in a row.
Yeah, but they didn't win the competition.
That's true, but
that's my point. You can win games, but you can't win a premiership, is what I'm saying. Now, you're saying that he means, we all know how much he means to them, so you've put a line through them, they're gone now.
I think they're most definitely gone. They cannot recover from the position that they might pick up a win or two, but waiting till round 19.
So you put the pen through them?
Yes,
okay.
Look,
what do you think?
I think if they make the semis, they've done better than par.
Could they get the spoon?
But they can't make the semis now.
No, I don't think they can make the semis.
Could they go as bad as getting the spoon?
Yeah, I think they're a chance, yeah. Now, look, they've lost the dominance of Kalyn. They're unsettled in the halves. They're still trying to find their groove, whatever that looks like. Whatever was there last year hasn't been refound this year, however they finished last season. So now they've got to go away, and as I said at the very beginning, they're going to have to readjust their style. They're going to have to find a new style now in this team because they won't have this guy for 3 months. So they have to play differently. You've got 3 trying to get into 2 at the moment in the halves, and they can't get settled there. They have to go away and almost come up with a new blueprint.
So is that the responsibility of the coach? Is he under the pump?
Well, it starts with the coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, you look at the Dolphins, right, with their roster. They've picked it, 2 years ago. They've had players out. They've had their big players out. They still find a way to compete. Newcastle need to get a style of footy, as what you said, Paul, mentioned, that's going to let them compete in this competition.
Dolphins play a very, very simple, disciplined style and just keep themselves in the game.
That's
and
right.
Newcastle have got to probably pull back a little bit in many instances and just play tough and real basic footy, but competitive on every tackle.
Braith, you asked about the coach. I spoke to Peter Parr, General Manager of Football today, and asked him, and he insists there's absolutely no pressure on Adam O'Brien, whether that's,
I don't think there is, though, Buzz.
No, I agree. And this,
any club that doesn't actually understand that they're now without Kalyn Ponga,
I agree with
themselves.
you, but you asked the question, so I'm answering it.
Thanks, Buzz.
The interesting thing is, he is still on his old contract. His new 3-year contract doesn't start until 25. So they are not even thinking of a changeover at this stage.
Yeah. Because it's almost like we've gone full circle with Newcastle. Started last year, we were having the same conversations, and then they found their groove and they were on fire, and the noise went away, and here we are back there again. But this time they won't have Kalyn for the majority of the season.
Well,
now.
they've got excuses now.
They do.
They shouldn't behave like they have.
They have been ordinary.
But for everybody else around the club,
they've been ordinary this year. We can admit that.
No club should be as reliant on one player. And that's why they're in big trouble, Kenty.
No, I don't think...
They're in big trouble. What?
What
do you mean?
They've still got enough good players. No, they've got origin players.
They're too reliant on one player.
But they've still got good players
they're
there.
struggling in the halves. That's why. You get a half that can actually come in and take control of the game.
When the game was on the line against the Roosters, they looked, there was no half to run up. There was one play to go. And not one of the halves wanted it.
That, though, Gordon?
Well, it's the halfback.
No. I mean, like, the recruitment. They bought the halves.
I get that.
Like, they bought those
Who
halves.
else do you buy? You can't buy Nathan Cleary.
Well, the other part too is they spent so much money on the fullback that there was not a lot left to go and get the
thing, right? But that's the salary cap, managing the cap.
That's managing exactly.
Kalyn was on nearly $1.5 million. We were talking
he was the
about
highest player in the game. Maybe Nathan's just beaten him in that area, but he was before Nathan signed his last contract, wherever that puts it. But you're right. They've just got to go away and they've just got to simplify their footy, play a little bit more confrontational, just play straight through a little bit more and don't finesse your way to victory and just be very hard to beat. Don't give away cheap penalties, all that sort of stuff. Don't miss your tackles, all that sort of stuff.
The Newcastle Knights, big news, huge blow. Kalyn Ponga out for up to 12 weeks. How bad is that for them?
Earth-shattering. Look, obvious answer is that they're going to struggle without their gun player. But on the flip side, I give it a small percentage. There's an opportunity here. I think Adam O'Brien needs to tinker with the way they play. They've got one of the best players not there, so how do you do it? Well, you better do the basics of the game better than anyone else. Give yourself a chance, hold on the ball, defend well. And I'll tell you what, Hastings gamble, where the Cogger comes back in, Brayley, they really need to stand up. I think they probably need a little bit more, maybe flamboyancy through the middle in terms of some offloads, but there's a real opportunity to change this, because if everyone expects them not to play well, and they come out and play well, Kalyn comes back in round whatever it is, big chance,
You say it's an opportunity there for someone. Who's that someone?
Hastings, Gamble, Cogger, Brayley. I think that's the key.
What have they got to do, though?
Well, they're going to become more of a threat, right? There's no Kalyn. In terms of ball playing, that big threat of Kalyn at the back helps you. Oh, absolutely. But he's a recipient of the play that happens through the middle. So, look, I think for Knights fans, if I'm Hastings, Cogger or Gamble, I'm sitting home and I am really getting down and dirty with this, because if the players can defend well and do the percentage and complete, then it's going to come down to the star players, no Kalyn, so it's an opportunity for these guys. If they don't, then it falls on them as well.
So it looks like Adam O'Brien hasn't actually settled on his halves, the 6 and 7s. The 3 players there, he's used them all in various combinations this year. Does the fact that there's no Kalyn there now make it easier for him to decide who his starting 6 and 7 have got to be, given it's been a little bit up in the air for the first 7 weeks?
I think it's the fact that none of those 3 have really stood out and said, pick me since the start of the season. The one thing about this whole system versus ad-lib play and halves, like, look what Penrith have done, right? You remove Nathan, O'Sullivan, Schneider, Cogger all play well and they win games of football without him. So the system can protect when you lose your best players. It's an opportunity for Adam O'Brien and Newcastle to set up a good system that protects, because if you always go with ad-lib and free play, well, you're going to have high highs, low lows, and if you're not connected without best players implementing that type of style, then you're going to have some issues. So, look, I think Jackson Hastings went overseas, found his rhythm, came back. There's some question marks around him at different stages, but I'll tell you what, if I was in his position, this is a chance for you to take the driver's seat and take off.
Now, Kalyn, I'm not sure if you had him in the Origin team or not, but I've got a sneaky suspicion you may have had him and Walsh both in the team, but now he's not there. Is that a big loss?
I really like the idea of having them both. Look, I think one day it may happen, because this is only an injury for a period of time. They're not going anywhere soon. But is it a big loss? Well, you could play Kalyn there or Reece and you probably change around. So the answer is no. You've got coverage there. You've got Hammer that can do a job as well. But I really like the idea that they're both in the same team. I don't know how it's implemented, but it would be pretty
You would have had them in the same team, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would have. I don't know how you'd roll it, because you've got Ben Hunt and Harry Grant.
What would you have done there?
I'd have to think about it, but you got middle forwards that can play long periods of time. Kalyn's proven in his debut. He's had one of the best debuts that's ever represented Queensland. So there's something enough to work with that says, just because everyone says you shouldn't do it, why you can't do it.
And you would have had Hunt as well, just quickly.
Would have had them all in the team, Braith.
18 players.